Hello. It is the next video. So I've gone through and created the DNS records. They should work for all of these, and I've added them in. And just as a reminder, this is our environment. All of the OSs are installed, but Splunk obviously isn't installed on any of them. We're going to do that today. We're going to treat the cluster manager as our first Splunk instance, since that's going to be kind of like our management instance. And it's also our license manager. So that's where I would start with. So that's why we're starting there. And then as we, progress, can I zoom this in at all? I don't think I can zoom this in. I should be fine. As we progress, we'll have to install Splunk on the rest of them, and we'll do that using the multi-exec method that I showed you in the last video. So in this one, we're going to focus on the cluster manager first, get some things out of the way, and then I think in the next video, I'll show you a shortcut for doing all the installs really quickly. So to start with, we'll go on to our cluster manager. Here we are. Actually, to start with, we're going to open up all of the sessions. I think I can just right click there. Yep, execute all sessions. So I should go through and start up all of them. And then I'll go to multi-exec. So we have all of them. And type in clear to get rid of them. And just to make sure everything is still good, I'm going to ping google.com. Okay. So DNS is working fine. I wonder if I can do ping $hostname.barelychili.com. That should be the DNS record for all of them. Awesome. Okay. And then if I do IP adder show, make sure the DNS record matches. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. And that's good. Okay, there's probably a better way to do that. So just wanted to make sure the records actually work so that when we're creating the config files using the host names, we don't run into any issues. So I'll go through and just close these. And let's go back to our cluster manager. It's just going to be the star of the show for this video. So I don't know if I can, okay, so I can put it here. Let me open up our Excalibur page, and we're going to go to Splunk download. And I already have my license file ready to go. So like I mentioned in the last video, you'll want to figure out what license to use. So we have Splunk Enterprise here. That's what we want. I'm going to click get my free Splunk Enterprise. Going to click login, and we'll need to log in. I'm actually going to log in on my other screen here. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, so I just logged in on the current screen. This is where you get to after you click login, after you click the get free Splunk or whatever the button was previously. We want the Linux version. So we're going to click on the Linux version, and we're going to do the tarball. So the .tgz. I think this is the best install method. It's just easier to manage, but you go with whichever method that you're comfortable with. And kind of like the, what's it called? Like disclaimer for this whole video series is make sure you read the docs. Like don't use this as the docs. Make sure you read the docs, but this is just showing some of the workflows around this. So we'll click copy wget since we don't want to have to move this over. So I'm going to copy this. And I'll go to the temp directory, and in here, I'll just paste it in, assuming we have wget installed, which we should, or right click in MOBA Extrem to paste, click enter. Okay, so we have this going. This is on my network that has like a 100 megabit connection or something, I think. So this is going to be pretty slow. So I'll be right back once this is done downloading. Okay, so this is wrapping up, and I encourage you to take notes as you're going through and doing the install. And especially if you have a distributed environment that you're installing, you should probably go through the full install steps on one of them and take notes on what you're doing. And then you can go into, doing some of the more challenging stuff like using multi-exec to do it across multiple hosts at the same time. And as long as you have good notes, that should be feasible for you. But do whatever ends up working for you. So I have the tar file here, and we're going to extract it. So tar-z xvf Splunk, and then I'll do -C to redirect it over to the op directory. And I'll do sudo here since I probably don't have permissions to extract to the op directory. I need to log in. Awesome. So I'll be right back after this is done. All right. So that took like 30 seconds for it to finish. And if we cd to the op directory, we have Splunk here. So something I forgot to do earlier is to create a Splunk user before we even started this. And let me pull up my command here. So in one of my other articles for installing an earlier version of Splunk, I have this here. So when you're creating a Splunk user, there is multiple ways you can do it. Do whatever fits, works for you. But this is the method that I'm going to be using. So with this method, I am creating a Splunk user that does not have a password. So the only way really to log in as this user is to escalate to root and then switch over to this user. So I'm just going to spam enter through that. And there is a way to not have to enter this. I think if we man add user, I think it's like geckos or something, geckos. Gecko. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll definitely look that up before we do the install across all of them. So we have Splunk here. We have the Splunk user created. So we're going to do sudo chown-r Splunk colon. So Splunk user, and if we leave whatever comes after colon blank, usually you'll have to do this for, I think, user group. As long as you leave it blank, it'll do the same for both. Splunk. So now it should be owned by Splunk. Awesome. And we can switch to Splunk and start it. Before we start it, we're going to do sudo op Splunk bin Splunk. Actually, yeah, let's go and start it. We'll sudo su to escalate to root, and then we'll do su Splunk to switch to Splunk. Just the easy method. And then we'll do op Splunk bin Splunk. Start, enter, go through, make sure you read this. Why is this not? Okay, there we go. Okay, and then do you agree? Yes. And it's going to ask you to put in a administrator username. You can technically choose whatever you want here, but there are some apps that expect a user named admin to exist. So just by default, I just make the first user I create admin, and then use a password for that user. Awesome. So Splunk is started. And before we go too much further, I'm going to exit back into root. I'm going to run op Splunk bin Splunk enable boot start dash user Splunk. So that's going to enable Splunk to start on boot as the user Splunk, and you have to run it with root privileges. Awesome. So now if this host restarts, Splunk will also start up, and it'll start up as the Splunk user. So now what we're going to do is, that was our cluster manager. So let me type it out over here. com:8000, bring it over here. Cool. So cluster manager, blah, blah, :8000 on HTTP. It's going to get us here. I'm going to log in with admin and my password. I'll click save. Nope. got it, and awesome. So we got the initial install setup. It is giving us some errors around KV stores, so we will have to check this out later. And something I'm going to do from the get-go is go to, not account, preferences. I'm going to set my time zone to Eastern, my app to search, theme is fine, turn on line numbers and turn on auto format and click apply. Cool. So we have the instance up. We're going to go over to settings, go over to licensing. And right now we have a 500 meg, like the free trial license. And I think when you run out of the free license, you get a 100 meg license for like a perpetual license. But I believe that one has a lot of features locked down. So if this is going to be a dev environment, make sure you request a dev license. So once you have that dev license, you're going to come in here, click add license and upload it. I'll be right back. Let me go grab my license real quick. All right, so I didn't label my license very well. I think this is it. Let me see. I'm gonna click install, restart later. And the only reason I click restart later there is this annoying reboot loop thing that it'll do, or at least it'll take you back to a restart screen over and over again. So I'll just click restart later there and then come to settings, go to server controls, and then click restart from here. And it'll restart as normal instead of putting us into that loop. So I'll be right back once this is done restarting. Okay, so the Splunk instance is back up. Since this is going to be our license manager, and let me log into something on my other screen. This is an app that I'd highly recommend, Config Explorer. It is a super powerful app. It prevents us needing to going to the SSH session all the time to make config edits and all that kind of stuff. It also provides like syntax highlighting and tooltips and all that. So it is a really nice app to have, and this is going to be the first app we get installed on our cluster manager, since it's going to be our management host. So to get that installed, I'll go to apps, go to manage apps. And actually, let's go to settings, licensing, make sure our license is good. Cool. So our developer license here is installed. So go to manage apps. We're going to click install app from file. I have the app in my other window. So Config Explorer is this app. I just downloaded it from there and click done. Cool. Config Explorer is pretty simple to use. All we need to do here is do one config change. So once this opens up, this is giving you a warning. Like, obviously, make sure you know what you're doing when you're using this, because you could really screw up your instance. We just need to change this setting right here. So we're going to go to settings, and we're going to click right axis and set that to true and close that out. And now we can see the back end of our instance, the file system, and we can go through and make edits to config files as we need. So that's mostly it for us on this instance. If we wanted to clean some of the stuff up, so we have audit trail, the security gateway. If we wanted to kind of hide any of these apps, we can do gateway, go to edit properties, and we will make it invisible and click save, and it won't show up in this dropdown if that's something that you want to do. So the management host, for the most part, the install here is done. That is the process, and we'll need to get everything hooked up to make this setup. So pretty much for the most part, all of these instances are going to call back to here. And since we just have a search head and we don't have a deployer, we'll actually hook that up to the deployment server as well. So here, let's lay it out like, I don't know what the best way to lay this out is, but let's do this to kind of showcase what each thing is doing. So for the distributed monitoring console, it's just the monitoring console. I'll show in a later video. It just gives us a good idea of what the environment is looking like from like a health perspective. License manager, everything is going to all of our enterprise install instances. So like all of these full Splunk enterprise installs are going to need to connect to our license manager to be able to use a license that we just installed here. The heavy forwarder technically doesn't need a license, so we don't really care too much about it connecting to the license manager in this instance, since it's just going to be a forwarder for us. So each of them are going to kind of use a different part. For a search head, typically, if it's in a cluster, you would have a deployer, but in our instance, it's going to connect to the deployment server to get apps. The indexers are going to connect to the cluster manager capability of this instance to get its apps and stay in sync, the cluster to stay in sync. And then the heavy forwarder is also going to hook up to the deployment server part of this instance. And then distributed monitoring console, that's just a way to monitor everything. And then the license manager, all of these hosts are going to need to contact the license manager part of it to make sure it has a valid license. That is pretty much it. I think we have time to go through and do the install of Splunk on the other instances as well. So we'll go through and do that real quick. It's going to be super fast. Okay. So we'll go back to here and we're going to close the cluster manager. Since that's done, we're going to right click on the user sessions folder and execute all and close out of the cluster manager once that's done loading, since that's already got Splunk installed. Okay, so we got the rest of the hosts here. I am going to go into the multi-exec mode and clear everything out, make sure everything works. Awesome. So we're going to go through and install Splunk on all of these instances at the same time. So to start with, let's escalate to root and go to temp. And we're going to create a Splunk user. Let me see what the add user get goes. Ubuntu add user geckos. I think we can just do this. Add that to the end of the command. So I have the command open in this guide I have. Should probably add it in here. So I copied that and I'll do multi-paste here. Did it pop two? What did it pop? One for each. Should not have done that. Password. That's annoying. I don't know why it's doing that. Dash geckos. Dash geckos like that. Okay, click OK. All of them have it. Let's see if that works. It does not. I think it has another option. If I can't find it here, we're just going to spam through it. It's just fine. Okay, I can't find it. So we're just going to deal with this for now. Clear all that. Multi-exec paste, it's this. Click OK. And we're going to click enter. It's going to go through add the user. We have to just spam through that so it can create it. Cool. So now that's done, we'll need to wget. Let me grab that. Come here. We're already in temp. We're going to paste it in and click enter. Cool. So now it's going to go through and download that TGZ file. Again, this network has a pretty slow connection, so I'll have to wait a little bit for it to go through and get this downloaded. So I will be right back once this is done. All right, so that did take a second, but they're all done. So they're here. I'm gonna do tar.x or zxvf Splunk -C to redirect it to the op directory. And again, we're still root, so we can extract it there. So let this do its thing. And this takes like 20 seconds, by the way, if you're curious. So I'll be right back. All right, 20 seconds later, that is done. So it's been extracted. We can go to opt and it's in here. So we'll need to chown -R Splunk Splunk. Again, I switched into the op directory, so we're going to change ownership of Splunk. We're root still, so now it should be owned by Splunk. Cool. We're going to switch into the Splunk user and do op Splunk bin Splunk start. Do space to read through all of this, and then do yes. We'll start with the admin user, just so we don't run into any issues in the future. Give our admin user a password, and it'll go through, create all this for us. And the reason that I like to do the whole path instead of the relative path when I restart is to be able to do Control-R to go search through my previous commands and then run them from wherever I am. So let these finish real quick. So these are all done. So if I need to go back and start Splunk or restart Splunk, I'll do Control-R to do a reverse search through my history. And I can type in start and then use the right arrow to select it or enter whatever. And let's say I want to restart, I just type in re. And since this has the absolute path here, no matter where I am in the file system, I can click Control-R, and from now on I can type in restart, and it'll pull up the last command that had the word restart in it, and then click enter, and it'll go through and restart. Okay, so the restart is done. I'm gonna open up the cluster manager as well real quick. Okay. For the cluster manager, let me sudo su and then switch into the Splunk user. And then we'll do multi-exec, clear everything out. Everyone is Splunk. Yep. And I can do op Splunk bin Splunk status, enter. So Splunk is running on all the instances, and the management host, which is the cluster manager, also has the license installed on it. So that's pretty much it. The installs are done for our deployment, and now we're going to start going through and setting up all of this, all the actual installs, and getting them connected together to kind of resemble this setup. So we'll start that in the next video. Bye-bye.